Hello. In today's video, we'll be going over getting started in Visual DB. So let's get right into it. When you first log into Visual DB, the first page that you're going to be sent to is the applications page where we are right now. And basically an application is a way to organize your different queries, sheets, forms in neat ways such that you know where different information is, different databases you want to access. So you might have a finance application, patient information application, a student information application, whatever you want. In today's video, we will be making a new application and it will be containing employee information. So let's do that. We can have a description, so like information of employees, and you can give a different color, you can have a different icon. So we'll press OK to that, and we'll see our new employee information application. So we'll open that up, and once you create a new application, the first place you want to start is at the connections page. And this is where you would connect a previously existing database, or you can create a new one. So if you have a pre-existing one, you would use these options right here. In our case, I'm just going to be creating a new database straight from Visual DB using Neon. So I'm going to create a database. I'm going to call this the employees database, like so, and I'm going to press OK. And we'll see here a temporary database has been created. So we can use this, though we probably want to claim this so it doesn't go away in 3 days. So let's do that. I'm going to click right here, and I get to claim my database. So I'm going to click Claim Database. And we're going to go over here, and basically, you might need to log into Neon. So go ahead and do that. And then you're going to go to this page right here where it asks you to claim the database. So I'm going to click Claim right here. And we'll see database ownership has been transferred successfully. You may close this tab. So now that we have that set up, we can go back to Visual DB and use our newly claimed database. So let's do that. All right, so now that we are back in Visual DB, we'll see that we no longer have the expiration warning, which means we have correctly and successfully claimed our database. It's not going to go away. So that means we can move on to the database tab. So first thing in the database tab is you need to pick a connection, and we'll see here our database shows up. And basically from here, what you can add to your database are different tables. So in our case, we are going to import from my local computer, but you also can create new tables within Visual DB if you don't have any data that you're starting with in particular. So I'm going to click import right here, and I am going to upload a data file. And we will see the employees CSV right here. I'm going to click on that and upload that into my computer. So we'll see everything is here, and we are going to press next. We have some different formatting stuff, might be important to pay attention to. Then we're going to press next. This is just making sure all the data types of your different fields are correct. And then we're going to press next again. And then here, this will be the name of the table. And then you need to pick a primary key. I'm going to pick employee number. And then I am going to click finish here. So once that's done uploading, happened real quick. Now it's in my database. So now the next step, once you have uploaded something into your database or there's something there, you need to query your database. Now, it might seem a little bit weird to query a table that only contains 14 rows, but the reason why queries are required is because as your information in your database grows exponentially, there might be a million rows in your database. Visual DB can't possibly fetch that to you locally. We have to cut it down to at most around 100,000 rows. So that's ballpark the most you can do. So try to stay under that, but that's the general idea, is going from millions to thousands, if that makes sense. So let's create a new query here with the new query button, and we are going to use the query builder. So here I'm going to call my new query the employee query, like so. And then we need to choose our connection. We have our employees database and press continue. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to add a table. We only have our employees table, so we're going to click on that. And then we're going to add in all the different columns that are contained within the employees table. So we're going to add that table. There's a bunch of complicated stuff you can do with queries. We have videos on that if you're interested. So check that out. And then we're going to press OK, and our query is created. So now that we have our query, now we can do all of the fancy stuff. So first, where I'm going to go is to our Forms tab. And basically, with a form, you can see all the different rows in your table individually. So let's see what that looks like. First, we're going to give our form a name. I'm going to call it the employee form, like so. And then we need to choose a query. I'm going to choose the employee query. And then down here, we have use AI to lay out the form. Basically, we just use AI to make the form look nice and put it in a logical manner. So we'll see what the AI did and what the power of forms. So we see different rows of that table individually. So first, we'll see Tim Miller here and all of his personal information. We scroll down, we see his employment details and then his location. So with all that, if there's anything you want to change, you can switch it up, customize. We have videos available on how to customize a form and fully utilize the power of forms. So if you want to check that out, please do. Additionally, you can look through all the different records that are fetched by your query using the Next and Previous button in the top left corner. So yeah, that's forms. Next thing that we are going to move on to is sheets. So I'm going to click the new sheet button and I'm going to call this the employee sheet. Of course, we're going to pick our employee query and we're going to press continue. We'll see all the different rows within our table that were fetched by the query, and we'll just be able to see it all at the same time. We can update different cells within our little database here. So if we wanted to up our commission here to like 500, you could do that. And then all you got to do is save it. You can save changes. Boom. Now it's in the database. Everybody should be able to see it. It's important to keep in mind that you don't need to create a sheet in order to create a form, and you don't need a form in order to create a sheet. They're independent of each other as long as you have that query. So yeah, it all works out nice. It's also important to keep in mind that you can further customize this. For example, using groupings or using sorting. There's a whole bunch of different advanced techniques in order to make the sheet look how you want it to look. So we have videos available on that. So please check that out. So we're going to go back and finally, we're going to go to reports here. And basically in reports, this is where you can get charts. So if you need to graph anything, this is where you go. So I'm going to call this the employee chart, like so, and then pick our query, and I'm going to do a chart report type. So I'm going to press continue, and with reports, it's a little bit more complicated. We're going to click on settings and design mode. We can click our chart type up here. I'm just going to pick column, and then we can pick a different field in order to populate our chart. So I'm going to pick department names to be the categories, and I am going to pick employee number for values, but I'm going to pick the count of employee numbers, like so. So we'll see here that we have 3 different types of departments, the accounting, research, and sales. And basically, this just gives us the amount of employees within the different departments. So accounting, there's 3. Research, there's 5. Sales, there's 6. So there's a bunch of different charts that we have. Again, we have videos available for you to check out all the different more advanced techniques that you can use to create really beautiful charts for whatever database needs you have. So that is an intro to Visual DB. There's a lot of stuff we went over in today's video. So just to recap, we first started at the application page. We created our employee information application. Then we created a new connection using Neon in Visual DB. Then we went over to the database section and we imported our employees table. Then we queried our table using our employee query. Then we created our employee form to individually view different records within our employees table. Then we created our sheet to get more of a bird's eye view of that table to see multiple records at once. And then finally, we created our employee chart where we saw the different counts of employees in different departments. So that was getting started in Visual DB. Thank you for listening and have a nice day.